What is going on, everyone? This is Ryan with the Loth-Wolf podcast, and today we have a very special guest, the North American champ himself, BobbySapphire. Welcome, Bobby, and thanks a ton for chatting with us today.
Yeah, what's up, Wags?
Not much, man. Congrats on the big win. So
Thank you.
are you now like on your unofficial championship parade by doing all these like podcasts and stuff like that?
Yeah, you're my third one in 3 days.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But I feel like I already go on a lot of podcasts, but this is this is a lot. People are definitely going to get sick of me if they're not already. And I'm pretty sure plenty of Destiny players are sick of me already.
I mean, I feel like when a figurehead, and you're kind of the unofficial vocal leader of like the community, or at least you have been since I kind of started. And I feel like when one of those guys wins, especially one of these big events, it's just kind of like amazing for the game. Have you gotten that kind of response from everyone so far?
Well, the response has definitely been more positive than negative. Like, obviously, I think like anytime someone wins, they get a lot of messages and whatnot. I've never really considered myself a vocal leader, but I guess I do have a prominent voice just because, I've written so much. Like, I'm almost to 500,000 words about Destiny in the last
Jeez.
3 years, which is nuts. And I go on a lot of podcasts. I definitely try and create a lot of drama on the Facebook page at times. So, yeah, I get like I don't know if that affects it. I think I don't know because a lot of the people that reach out are just like people in the Discord or people who message me randomly, and it's the same sort of support I feel like I get. And obviously, some of that is because of having that voice, but I would like to think that it's because they are actually like impressed by what I did or they enjoy talking to me. So it's tough for me to reconcile which is what, and I'm just gonna live in the world where people like me because that sounds better.
I know for our local bunch of us that we're just really excited for you and kind of excited to see, like I said, somebody that's kind of known take down one of these big tournaments and just play as well as you did. It was pretty awesome to watch.
Thanks.
Um, yeah, no problem. So, a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
First, we'll start off before the tournament, before Gen Con. So, we on the podcast, there's four of us. None of us have had the chance to attend like a major event yet.
Hmm.
So, I'm interested to see kind of what your extensive testing procedures like that you and the Hyperloops guys go through to prep for whether it be Gen Con or Nova or Worlds.
Yeah, so we play a lot. Like we play a lot of games. We try and talk a lot. I know, like with me and Joe, I talk to Joe probably more than I talk to my wife. Like we've had this business for the last 3 years, and we just like we have something to talk about every day. And so from early on this event, Joe was on Droid. So Joe usually is like that. He knows what he's gonna play. Um, and it's always three wide, and it's always like heavy on supports. It's always got like Ezra Saber. So like I just like what you're getting with him, and then it's just like it's getting games against that and figuring out like, all right, how can I attack this like great deck? So like I just ran through as many decks as I could into droids. Nothing was really working at all, and it's tough because you have to like, especially when we got on Ewoks, like you have to keep it within such a tight knit group because if everyone found out that we were playing Ewoks, the meta would have changed. They would have expected to see us in the later rounds, and they would know they have to go through. So we had to keep it really close to the vest, but it's really just working together and talking a lot, and just getting as many games as I can. And like, if I can't get a game on TTS, I'm jumping in other TTS rooms to at least watch and hang out and just see what people are playing. Um, and yeah, so just I'd say like about a month we were playing a lot, and then the 2 weeks before the event, I was playing. I was playing like 6 to 8 hours a day, and my family went down Cape Cod for a weekend, and I played like I played like 3 days straight, nothing else.
Just
I just played
went to the
Destiny.
bunker.
Yeah, it was kind of gross. I hated it. And like when they got home, I was like, all right, now I can take a couple days off and just like relax before I actually fly to Gen Con. I was pretty confident about playing Ewoks.
That's awesome. So like when you're testing against a guy like Joe, for those of you guys that don't know who Joe is, honestly sarcastic is probably
Hmm.
his better name. Is it kind of a double-edged sword? Because one, I feel like there's no better testing partner than a guy of that quality or that caliber who just knows so much about the game and can see
Hmm.
things on the table and stuff. But at the same time, is it fun like kind of losing all the time, or how does that work?
Oh, it's definitely not fun losing all the time. It can be pretty frustrating, especially since like you have you try and come up with a plan and you think you have a solid plan. But it's just so helpful to see the absolute worst case scenario in all your matches. It was really tough in this case because he knew exactly how to beat Ewoks, and I actually had to play him in Swiss, and I came really close to getting him, but he was just able to like shield out of the kill range. But it gave me confidence that when I played other droid players, that they just weren't going to be able to do everything he did at all times, because
Right.
Joe always rolls the perfect roll, and he always has the perfect card in hand, and he always makes the right decision when you're playtesting against him. Like
Yeah,
if you don't
that's
want him to roll disrupt, he's going to roll disrupt. If you don't want him to roll damage, he's going to roll damage. It's just like every time he gets exactly what he needs. But it's good, and I always joke that like I know I'm ready to go crush a tournament when he beats me up for a week straight. And,
right.
this tournament was no different.
That's awesome. So was the testing for this Gen Con in particular, was it different because Spark was released only a few weeks before the event? I mean, in like past events we've had, the set was out around for a few like months. We had regionals before Worlds got moved. So was it any different for you guys like this set, just kind of scrambling to find the perfect deck?
It was a little quicker. I still think like all the cards were spoiled 6 weeks out, um, maybe even
That's true.
longer. And then like most of my games are on TTS, so I don't really need the cards in hand to be able to test. I like purposely forced myself to go to a local the Saturday before Gen Con just so I had some IRL reps. I met up with another buddy of mine who's like my old neighbor, and we played at a local shop too because I needed some in real life games before the event because I just always play on TTS. But yeah, so that proximity was a little tough, but because everyone was on droids, and then like a lot of people seemed like they were going to use Afra to counter it, it did give us like a pretty clear idea of what people were going to be doing.
Yeah, that kind of brings me up into my next kind of question here. So, like last year, I think you like talked about, or I've seen you talk about how your favorite part of this game is kind of reading the meta and like making a call that maybe people aren't prepared for.
Mm-hmm.
You've done it with Stairs when you kind of that kind of came out of nowhere and just kind of took Destiny by storm for a while, and then the Milpocalypse last year for you guys at Gen Con. So, like, what factors kind of play into not only your decision to play Ewoks this time around, but like when you're making a meta call, what do you guys like look at to try and analyze? If you don't want to give me some trade secrets, that's fine. But like, what are some of the
No,
things that you try to read?
there's definitely nothing scientific about it. It's like it's just trying to consume everything and just like just I'm always just trying to think about. I'm in the car, I'm like in bed, watching TV. I'm just like, all right, if this beats, if Afra beats droids, and Raylo beats Afra, let's just say, like, all right, what, like, how can I attack all three, and like, which one's going to cannibalize each other more? Like, I think Droids is going to be the most popular. I think Afra is going to be close behind it. Like, is the deck I'm playing enough? Like, do those specifically though, do those decks have to work fighting each other so much that I can attack from this other angle? And that's usually the angle that I go for. And like last year it was Mill because like nothing those Afra decks were doing was fast enough to compete with Mill because the damage was too spread out, and we had like double force illusion, double second chance. It's just like no way they could do enough damage. There just wasn't a spike damage deck last year.
Right.
And then this year, droids was well set up, and even Afro too, to like lose a character early and keep on trucking. That's like one of the reasons why I think like Raylo faltered in the top 16. It like got a few in, but once it had to face consistent droids and Afras, like they lose a character and they lose, and then like with the Ewok stack, not only can I lose 3 characters, but I want you to kill 3 characters.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
I'm
Like,
hoping you kill 2 characters in a turn. I mean, ideally after they've all activated and I've done their max damage, because then when I claim they did 2 damage that round, and then they're going to go back to doing one damage the next round. So really it just felt like capitalizing on people trying to spike characters, because it's just like it just seems really important to burn down a character at the beginning of round 2 right now. And Ewoks was definitely the most impervious to that, and then because of all the Raylo, and because I mean it's fine against droids, but like we thought that Afra's going all in on active cruelty might be a liability, and I mean that was just showcased in the fact that like ABG only even ran 1 active cruelty in their
I was
deck.
gonna say, did you even see that?
Yeah, I mean Cody didn't play it because he only had one. When we played the top cut, and I get to look at his list and it only had one, I was like, oh my god. Like Cuenca, who knew we were all on Ewoks, played Deja Vu and 2. Like So he had the leg up there, but yeah, when they only had one act of cruelty, I felt pretty good. And then when I saw Taxter's list had 0 in the finals, I was like, oh, I don't even know what he can do. Like
Didn't even have the Umbaran either.
no, he didn't really have any tech, and there was just nothing I was scared of. And I mean, those games both ended round 2, and that's what happens when you don't have any check, when you don't have any way to check Ewoks. Like if I just have good hands, and like one of my hands against Taxter was absolutely broken, but like if I just have good hands, like that deck's just gonna die middle if not beginning of round 3.
Yeah, so that's one of the things. I played like a little bit of Ewoks, like when it initially came out, the Allies of Necessity version. So I haven't tried your guys' version yet. It's kind of banned at our local, and it's like an unofficial. You can't
Yeah.
play that. You can't play droids. Come up with other stuff, and yeah, it just seems like you can have a decent hand and not even like the fire hand, and you're still just you just blow people out.
Yeah, we just really maximized like the kind of burn out of hand. I think like when Joe convinced me to play the ammo reserves is when that deck like really blew my mind. Because like oh, I can pay 1 and have another Ewok for 3 rounds. Like that's pretty damn good.
You ran 2 of those, right?
I did. Yeah. 3 of the guys outrun Reflex and Biggie. They only ran 1 and they ran a light speed assault because they wanted to like punch vehicle decks and like specifically like the Big Falcon. But I just thought ammo reserves was way too important to cut. It wouldn't have been my cut even if I did go light speed assault.
If you were to run the event again, are you keeping all 30 cards, or are you going to change anything up? I mean, obviously you won, so you probably like all 30 cards, but I don't know if
Yeah,
there's
no, I
anything.
mean if everyone knows what we're doing, then I would probably put some convergences back in. That
Okay.
was the last cut. We cut a convergence the night before for a crate resistance crate speeder. And like as soon as Shane suggested it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm on board. You don't even have to convince me. Like that's such a money cut. Convergence was always good, but there was just nothing we felt like we needed to get. We definitely didn't think we'd see Umbaran hover tanks. So I guess if like everyone packed those, we would have gotten blown out. But yeah, they didn't. So we were fine. Like obviously, a couple of us got knocked out by, or like Reflex got knocked out by Umbaran hover tanks, and I almost did. So it could have been scary. But we only had 1 convergence in there anyway, so we would have had to have hit it.
So from the tournament as a whole, was there anything that kind of surprised you? Like it doesn't have to be deck wise, but like numbers wise or anything like that, or anything, or did it kind of just play as straightforward as you guys thought?
No, I mean, I thought that droids might underperform a little, just because I thought a lot of people would be on it that aren't as good with it as like some of the elite players. But it turns out like most of the, if not all of the droids players that were in the top cut, and that's like the Satine droid players, were all from our Discord and we're all like on honestly Sarcastic's list. So I think that really helped people. He had done some like videos a couple nights before, just like he actually did it for the team, but then he released them to people who were playing droids at Gen Con, just like all about the sequencing of Satine and some things to look for. And I think that really helped people. So I think without that, you might have seen a few less droids players. I'm a little surprised that there was absolutely no Vader in the top cut. And then like one thing I was really surprised about is how popular the stream was. Like we had almost 500 people watching the final, which is
Yeah,
nuts.
it was great. I mean, I was a part of that and just kind of everybody mostly rooting for you and the Ewoks, but yeah, it was awesome to see that many people watching it.
Yeah, I mean that I was like, oh, maybe 150 people watch the final. Like maybe 150 people watch day 2. So to be able to like to be at 250 all day 1 and then, hitting almost 500 day 2 is just crazy.
Yeah,
And
and
the final was only 30 minutes long. I think it helped that Rothermel and I were the semifinal match, probably because that kind of got like hyped on Facebook and stuff.
for all the drama.
Yeah, just because like we have the drama history. Although like it seems like so long ago. Like people don't even
Right.
remember that we played last. I mean, people probably don't even know, but we played last year at Gen Con. Um, so like that stuff's all way in the past. But obviously, I still blew up Facebook with it because I figured it would get us the hits.
So after you dropped that game 1, were you like nervous at all? Were you, I mean, what adjustments did you make after he took game 1 and then you end up coming back taking game 2 and 3? I mean, that, in kind of watching it, that was a better match obviously than the finals against Taxter. Um, what adjustments did you make? Did you try to mull for anything differently, or what did you try to attack?
No, I think I got a little fortunate that I opened with a target acquire in game 2. I didn't. I definitely wasn't nervous at all. I didn't really think much of it. Um, Sometimes when I feel like I'm gonna lose, I get into this mode where I'm like, "Ugh, how am I gonna explain this to people? Like, I'm gonna have to talk about it. And I didn't. I didn't really let that enter my mind. I just was like, all right. I mean, it's a best of three. I mean, I've been playing Magic forever. I've definitely gone down 0-1 plenty of times, and clawed my way back. So one of the things that kind of dictated my mull was being able to, like, if I drew kinship or truce, I had to keep it because I knew he was heavy on the disrupt plan. So game two, I think I kept a kinship and maybe a target acquired and maybe a burn spell, I forget. And I think I was like really torn on the mull, and I shipped an ammo reserves. I think I shipped a strength of numbers and an ammo reserves, and I was like really torn on the ammo reserves, and I got back like glider attack and ammo reserves, and I was like, okay, so the gods wanted me to win this one because the card that I wanted to keep came back to me plus a better card. And then game three was weird because I actually mauled into Across the Galaxy and Rig Detonation, but he took my battlefield, which, like, I guess he was talking. I was talking to Michael Spalding, who's on that crew, and he was saying
Yeah.
like that was part of his plan, was to like swap in game three. What, like, potentially is to like have that in his hat to swap and take my battlefield to try and like dead my hand. And like, yeah, he gave me two dead cards, but he also, like, there was an inefficiency there because he also discarded a convergence and went down to one resource. So I was able to pull a crate speeder and use those dice to reroll. Um, which I use those cards in hand to reroll. And I mean, I want my battlefield, so I obviously would have liked the ATG and the rig detonation, especially if he had taken his battlefield. But I mean, I didn't need, like, the best thing for me was to be able to pitch that ATG round one when I had an otherwise decent hand, because then I wasn't drawing into it later.
Yeah, and that furthers kind of your plan because then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, and I told him right away. I was like, "Oh yeah, my last opponent switched in game three, and it didn't work out for him either." Because I'm always trying to get in his head.
Absolutely. So coming out, Ewoks seem to kind of be the it deck there. It's kind of divisive or divisive, if you will. So people are saying it might not be quote unquote real Destiny or in the spirit of the game, since you only ran what, three dice cards in the entire, you had three dice in the entire deck.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on that? I mean, I don't have a problem with it because I mean, if they're going to design it, people are going to play it. And I feel like,
Yeah. So no, all right. So like I took it to a local, but that was because like I was testing it for Gen Con.
yeah,
I probably wouldn't take it to a local other than maybe like I would have it on me in case people wanted to play it or try it or see it. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't use it to like abuse a bunch of casual guys who play at your local store. But if I'm going to the like North American Championship, then yeah, I'm just gonna bring whatever I think is gonna give me the best chance to win. But like, I don't like grind hard at the local scene to try and like make people feel bad or anything. So
right.
that's not part of it.
Do you think so? Last year you wrote an article about like there's a mill problem with Destiny because mill was kind of just dominating and it just seemed unstoppable for a long time. Do you
Yeah, for
foresee
sure.
an Ewok problem coming after this win?
No, I think it's a lot easier to tech against Ewoks. There's so many good cards like Hover Tank and Fear and Deadman and Sudden Impact and Active Cruelty. And there's just so many ways to invalidate what it does. And these guys are just 4 health guys. So you can start knocking them out pretty easily. I just think people didn't take it seriously, and then you have, you know, the arguably the best team in Destiny who did take it seriously and made like a killer version. And the looks on everyone's faces when they heard we were actually playing Ewoks was kind of like, oh shit, like, this, we have to deal with this now. Like, we thought it was a meme, but now it's real.
That's awesome. So are you guys going to Nova?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most of
So
us are
are
going. I'm not 100% sure I'm playing Destiny, only because I don't know the schedule. My plan was to just play X-Wing because I need that Worlds qualification,
yeah.
which is invite only this year. But I know some of the other guys are going to be playing Destiny at least, and I'll be helping prepare for sure.
So your Gen Con win gets you a world seat next year, correct?
No, they said it's only for this year.
Come on.
Both Gen
E-
Cons fed the same worlds.
even if you already have a world seat, they won't give you.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is they keep changing. Like, all of a sudden they're like, oh, top 8 at Worlds last year get to go to this world. So who
Yeah.
knows? But they specifically made an announcement and said this wouldn't qualify 2020. It would only qualify 2019, which
Wow.
sucks because, like I top aided last Gen Con, so I already had the world's invite, for this one. And it's unfair it feels unfair to say like, all right, I played the same event 2 years in a row. I succeeded at that event both years in a row, but both of those events only feed the same world championship.
Yeah, I feel like they should say, you know what, cut off at this world's anything. If you already have a world seat, you can use it for next year. But then after this world's, you can't earn seats for 2021. Everything has to be in the calendar year. I mean, they switched it, so I feel like that should be something that they kind of amend. Hopefully, they do that.
Yeah, they've been pretty responsive. And then, like, most of the people who made top eight at Gen Con, I expect to be able to qualify for the next Worlds anyway. So, I mean, it's a bad way to look at it because we're just like giving them the free, like, we're giving FFG the free win there. But I think they've been pretty responsive to arguing those points, and we might be able to get them to change their minds anyway. But if
Yeah,
if everyone can just qualify, on their own, then it probably doesn't
yeah,
matter.
it shouldn't be a problem for you guys, but just kind of saying in general, if someone else would have won, somebody that might struggle, I mean, it should be something that they could kind of put forth towards next year. But what do I know?
I mean,
So in
you're not gonna get anywhere trying to figure out what the hell FFG is trying to do.
yes, I mean, yeah, I stopped right away. Um, so for Nova, are you guys kind of back to the drawing board? It's saying you are playing Destiny. Are you, or I guess as the team, I assume Ewoks are kind of dead unless you guys do the ultimate kind of swerve and just say you're not playing Ewoks, then you're back on Ewoks again.
Yeah, I just think it'll be too fresh in people's minds that no way people show up not ready for it.
Right.
So I think it would be a mistake to run it unless we figured out a way to change it or make it better. But I have like a palpable fear of running the same deck twice in a row because I won with it or because I did well with it. It's almost like, all right, I did well with it. Now I never want to touch it again because I don't want to fall in the trap that I think some people fall into, which is like, well, this is my pet deck and I'm always going to run it because it's what I'm good with. And I can never live with like that. I need to be able to play every list, every deck at a high level because I can't let myself get mentally like pigeonholed like that.
Right. So do you guys kind of like just go back to are you more likely to take a deck that's already kind of established? Let's say just a Raylo, for instance. Let's say you guys decide, hey, we're going to try to make Raylo amazing. Or are you kind of likely to just kind of erase everything and then just go back to, hey, what cards haven't been explored yet? Let's try to retest all over again. How does that process look like?
I might like there definitely might be some things like the thing is like yeah we're seven good players but like we go to Gen Con and we're surrounded by like 100 good players so you
Yeah.
definitely hear things and you have conversations about things you think are potentially good but we didn't get to test and so there's a bunch of things that like just never looked at like we just never looked at Chopper and obviously Chopper was really great. Destiny Council put 2 in the top 4 with Chopper, so like that's gonna be something we explore. Droid still did really really well, so I expect Joe to like at least start by trying to adjust the Satine droids to be able to beat Chopper. um, and then from there, just like maybe try some things that I absolutely ignored. Like I didn't even look. I haven't even read Thrawn. Like I couldn't tell you. I think he's 19 points, maybe 20 points. I think he's
He's
good at
19.
2x,
Yeah.
3x. Yeah. Like I don't know. I didn't open one. I haven't. Like if we went through my browser history, his card has never been clicked on the Destiny database. So like there might be some blind spots there that I might explore. There's already a lot of things that I don't have to look at. Like I don't have to look at 3 wide Beckett. I don't have to look at Django Daka because I tried those things and they didn't work. And I don't think that Ewoks winning will make them work more.
What type, like, is there any like deck or kind of style of decks or multiple decks that do you think are going to rise up in response to Ewoks now?
It's not really necessary. I think more people play Vader because they think that's a good matchup. But like in testing, we were really fine. Like we didn't care if we faced Vader. I mean, obviously we don't want them to fear in Dead Men of 4, but like the plan was to try and like get some mitigation or find a way to like nerf that with either with armed escort or just like near missing it, whatever. So I think more people will run Vader, and I just think people will put that tech in. I think people will be running sudden impact, active cruelty, Umbaran, sonic detonators, maybe even the V17 thermal detonator, whatever it's called.
Yeah,
Um, so I just think that there's going to be a little bit of that.
cool. So a couple more questions for you, and then I'll let you go.
All
Um,
right.
Overall, what would you kind of attribute your success in this game to? Is it like all the hours that you're putting in? I mean, you're kind of a student of the game and you've played multiple different games and had success kind of across multiple different platforms. So is it all the hours or is it just when you sit down at a Destiny table, Are there things that you see that maybe the average player might not?
Um, I think those two are pretty closely related. I think I play so much that I play pretty tight, and I definitely see some lines that even like good players don't always see. And that's not to say that like my lines are better, but I feel like I've always played games where my friends or people watching the game like don't see the game the way I see it. They don't see like what lines and what approaches I'm taking. I know like Gandork, the head judge, had said like something like I thought was like really cool and just like flattering that like there are a lot of good players, but when I watch players like Mike and Joe and I'm sure he named some other guys. I don't remember. I was just like obviously talking about me, so it's kind of where my head was at. But just like when I watch them play, they play at a different level and they play in a way that surprises me. And normally I can watch a player and I know exactly what he's going to do, but he says like when I'm watching these good players, they do things that I don't expect and they succeed, and that's like the hallmark of a good player or great player. So I think that that's pretty interesting. But really, like I would attribute 99.9% of my success to having like a great team. They're just so helpful, and they're all good players, and they're all willing to play devil's advocate or tell me that I'm an idiot or beat me. And like those things you can't get anywhere else. Like you can't be successful if everyone's telling you how great you are. You have to have people who are willing to beat you or think that you're wrong. And I don't know if part of it is like, they want to beat me, and because that's how competitive people are. But whatever it is, you got to find those people and not resent them. You got to be able to like take an L, get yelled at, feel like an idiot. Like that's the only way to get better, in my opinion.
So last question here. So you, Joe, and Nick kind of have been the cornerstone of the community since this basically the beginning of the game. I started in Legacies, and by that point, you guys were far established. Um, what
Yeah, we blew
advice
up during like Spark of Hope, beginning of Spark of
or
Hope.
Spirit of Rebellion? You mean
Yes, yeah, Spirit of Rebellion. Jesus, sorry.
just 2 weeks ago? You guys just kind of turned.
Yeah, we're new to the scene.
So like what advice would you guys give to budding content creators? So this is our second, or this is going to be a part of our second podcast. We're trying to kind of create content and bring it to like the Midwest, since there really isn't a ton of stuff going around us, especially in the Chicagoland area. So what advice would you guys give to kind of like guys like us or just newer content creators out there, to not only attract new players, but also kind of start reaching a wider audience beyond just kind of our local?
Well, one of the things that I think we did really well, one of them was that like when we went to that first Gen Con and we went first, second, that got us a lot of attention. So like being able to like make a mark in some way, you don't have to like go come in first and second at a major event, but you do have to like go to some events and put yourself in the top cut or do interviews or do something to make it seem like you take the game seriously. The other thing is to just never take a break. Just never stop. Because too many content creators take a week off and then it's a month off and then they do an episode and it's 6 months. Like that's kind of how we've been with podcasting. Like we used to be pretty good with it and then like we just stopped doing it because we didn't care anymore. But like for the last I don't know 2.5 years, we've written an article every day. Like this year, we went down to 3 days a week. I mean, we had a lot of personal issues going on personally,
Right.
like with me, my family, and like some stuff with like Joe's business. And like Cuenca got married, I had a kid, like all that kind of stuff. So like we went down to 3 days a week. But for 2 years, we wrote articles 5 days a week. And the only time we didn't write was because we were like flying to Gen Con or Worlds. And that was it.
Jeez.
And it was just like you can't take time off because people will forget you. And people will be
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, those are those guys that like podcast sometimes."
Yeah. So first and second, it worked for you guys. It worked for ABG. I feel like I got to just figure out a way to go to next year's Gen Con and
Yeah,
top
or
with
just
a
like
couple of my
do the same
teammates or
thing.
something.
Like put all your guys in the regional, like crush the regional.
Right.
Crush Adepticon. Adepticon will probably be a grand next year, right?
Hopefully. I mean,
Yeah, hopefully.
that'd be awesome. All right, Mike. Well, thanks again for coming on and chatting with us. It really means a lot to not only me, but my other teammates as well. Congratulations on your win again. Good luck at your future, Nova and Worlds and all that stuff. But
Thanks, man.
really, thanks a lot.
Yeah, good luck with the podcast. I hope it crushes.
Appreciate it, man. See you guys.